A bit of an overview about Gearset. So this is a bit of rundown of what's going to happen today. So we're going to hear from quite a few people across the business. So Jason Mann's going to cover up our introduction to Gearset, just to give you a bit of a feel for who we are and what we do. Then we're going to go into engineering. Dave Rant's going to give us a highlight of engineering. Then we're going to hear from Dan Yates on our graduate programme, so it'll be really, really interesting. Then marketing, Nicola is going to share some insights about marketing, customer success, Luke Harris, and then sales. Joe Moss is going to give us a rundown on sales. And then finally, closing off, Ian is going to give us a bit of an insight into what opportunities we have currently at Gearset. Okay, so without further ado, I won't talk anymore. I'll jump into straight into the sessions to start off with Jason.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right? Can indeed. Excellent. Yes. Well, hello everyone. I'm Jason. I'm our head of operations here at Gearset. I think you can't see my video at the moment, but you can just see my lovely Zoom profile photo and guess from there. So I've been with Gearset since pretty much day one, when we were 7 of us huddled in the corner of an office, without really having any product or customers, to now when we've just tipped over 150 people with a global presence. And it's really been an amazing journey so far, but we're only just getting started. So in our session today, we're hoping to convince you that now really is a great time to join us in the next stage of our growth and give you a chance to learn a little bit more about the opportunities we've got across the company. So let's start with actually talking about who are Gearset. Well, we're a software company who builds DevOps tools for Salesforce. Now, DevOps is probably a word that's not super familiar to many of you. It's essentially the goal of streamlining the software development and release cycle for companies, making them move faster, build better software, and just release it more quickly and reliably. Now, Salesforce is another company you also may not have heard of. They're actually the world's largest CRM tool. Basically, the software platforms let businesses manage their relationships with customers, sell and market more effectively, and build stronger relationships. And if you think about pretty much any big company name out there, there is a very strong chance that Salesforce is what they're using behind the scenes to power a lot of their business. Now, what Gearset does is make the lives easier for everyone who builds and works on top of Salesforce. We bring them a world-class solution that genuinely makes their jobs easier and lets them build software faster and better, and essentially that helps them collaborate more effectively as a team. Now, since we started, we've grown now. Can we jump forward a slide, please, by the way, Catherine? Since we started, we've grown to be trusted by thousands of companies around the world. And there are many names that you will probably know, from people like IBM, Accenture, TripAdvisor, Sonos. If you've got any of their speakers, they use us as well. But there are many names that you're probably not going to be so familiar with, such as McKesson, who are a giant global healthcare company, and Veolia, who run pretty much every single recycling and bin lorry you'll ever see all around the world. And all of these companies rely on us to power their software development cycle behind the scenes, with global teams using Gearset to make sure that they're working effectively. And Gearset now has our 150 plus strong team spread across 3 offices. We can, thank you very much, across offices in Cambridge, Belfast, and Chicago. And we've always been proud of building a place to do great work and ensuring that our team are really given every opportunity to thrive and grow. An assessment to that, we've actually been voted one of the best places to work in the UK in multiple categories, from excellence in wellbeing to being one of the top 5 tech companies in the country. And we have consistently high Glassdoor ratings. And we actually found out just about 10 or 15 minutes ago live that we have just won the #1 best company in the East of England in this year's Best Companies Awards, which is a pretty great achievement. Now, to give you more detail about some of the areas that we're hiring for in Gearset, I'm going to hand over to the rest of the team. And first up, I believe we have Dave Rant, who is going to chat to you about engineering.
Yeah, hi everybody. Hopefully you can see me. So yeah, my name's David. I'm one of our engineering team leads here at Gearset. I've been with Gearset coming up 18 months now. And it's been a really brilliant experience. I started remotely, but now I work in the office a bit. It's been a really nice experience coming out of the pandemic and working with Gearset. So Jason's given you a bit of an overview of what Gearset do from a high level. I'm going to talk a bit more about what we do from kind of an engineering perspective to help our customers be successful. So if there are any software engineers on the call, you might be familiar with Travis, Circle CI, and Jenkins. Well, a lot like these tools, Gearset is a CI/CD, a continuous integration and continuous delivery platform, but we're built specifically for Salesforce. Salesforce customers find it tricky to adopt some of the modern software engineering and DevOps practices into their development teams because generic DevOps tooling just doesn't really meet their requirements. So our challenge at Gearset is to make adoption of those practices effortless, whether that's through automated testing of code or the observability and monitoring of their Salesforce environments. So what technologies do we use? Well, you can see down in the bottom right-hand side, Gearset's a cloud-native application, meaning that we run on Kubernetes-based infrastructure distributed around the world. The majority of our stack is based in .NET and JavaScript, and we heavily make use of AWS services such as EKS and RDS, S3, Lambda, and Redis to deliver our platform to our customers. We make sure that we use the right tool for the right job, and we're always open to new approaches. Gearset was built by developers for developers. So we were founded by a group of software engineers, and our product is built on a robust DevOps philosophy. We make constant incremental progress by releasing multiple times a day to our users. Frequently shipping our application allows us to iterate quickly in collaboration with all of our users to delight and sometimes surprise them as well. We work together and we help each other out to break down silos constantly, to identify new ways of working and encourage candid and kind feedback about everything we do. Encouraging collaboration also means that we're really light on process, which is really refreshing. And that allows our development teams to run in a more Kanban style workflow and avoid meeting fatigue that you get in a lot of other engineering teams. So to make sure our customers succeed, as an engineer at Gearset, we work closely with our customers to understand the problems they face and how we can help them. We speak to our customers frequently over Zoom or Google Meet, through intercom and email. And as soon as we've got something for them to try, we release it as part of our early adopter pilot programs or through our self-service beta program to get their feedback and incorporate it into what we do. We value that we've got a really flat and open structure. Our engineers, designers, and product owners all work together in small cross-functional teams. Each one of our teams are focused on a feature in the product, a project, or a specific area of the business. And those teams are able to autonomously define and work towards their own goals. Engineers can also switch teams if they want to work on different projects or areas of the business, or even just work with different people. And lastly, we make sure we use the best tools that money can buy. Underpowered tooling gets in the way of us helping our users, so we make sure that's not a thing. There's nothing more frustrating than your equipment getting in the way, so we make sure that everybody has exactly what they need to get the job done. And then, Catherine, if you could just move forward one more, please. So this is a quote from Gabe, who's one of our engineers in the team, and I thought it was particularly poignant, so I'd read it out. The friendly team and the culture of transparency and trust make this an ideal place to work. It's great to work at a company where developers work on features across the full stack. I find that the freedom to solve problems my way, coupled with the close relationship that we have with our customers, makes the work I do at Gearset feel very satisfying. And I think that's a really great summary of my experience of being an engineer at Gearset. The work that I do is valued by our customers. I have great relationships with my colleagues, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of the work that I do. So that's everything from me. Next up is going to be Dan, who's going to talk about our graduate program in the engineering team.
Awesome, thanks for that, Dave. See, I'm very on Gearset brand today with my clothes. But yeah, just thought today I'll be talking about being a graduate engineer at Gearset and what that's like. So Dave's obviously briefly talked about what it's like in the engineering department. I'm going to talk more specifically, like I say, about what it's like as a graduate. So I'm Dan. I joined Gearset in August of last year after graduating from the Uni of York. And yeah, I'm going to talk about a few things. So as a graduate engineer at Gearset, you're really encouraged to develop your skills as an engineer and become the best that you can be. You'll be shipping changes to our end users in your first week and kind of really making an impact right away. Which I think as a graduate is really exciting and interesting to see that you're sort of making that real impact on end users and actually see those customers use those users like really early in the process. We focus on making sure that you're treated no differently to any other engineer in the team, whether that be an intern, senior engineer, manager, whatever. We all work together and we all get stuck in and into the thick of things. At Gearset, we've got a sort of multi-layer support system in place so that there's always someone to talk to if you've got any sort of problems, concerns, or just things you want to talk about. You can talk to your mentor, so that's someone that's in your team assigned to support you in your role. You can speak to your line manager, you can speak to one of our great development managers, or literally anyone else in the company. Everyone and anyone is welcoming and helpful, and all you have to do is ask, and people in the company are more than willing to help and set aside some time to help and support you through whatever you need. There'll also be a bunch of other graduate engineers joining too, if you join as a graduate. So there's plenty of other graduate devs to talk to, which can be a nice thing to have when you're new to a company. In terms of the structure of the program, our graduate program is generally structured pretty much exactly the same to that of a typical engineer. The typical engineer is someone who's joining with experience in previous companies. But the difference is probably we have much more respect for giving you more time to develop yourself, work through problems, and kind of learn the code base. Just to sort of expand on that, sort of in your first week at Gearset, which is kind of, we have this thing of, you start with looking at what you do in your first week, then in your first month, and then in your first 3 months. Within your first week, you'll get all your sort of computer set up, you'll get acclimatized to the product, and also get to know the wider team. You'll also develop, test, and release your first production-ready change to the app, and that'll be, very much with the help of your mentor alongside you. And I think that's really cool and really important that, like I said, you're encouraged right away, as scary as it seems, you're encouraged right away to make a change, get it into the app, get it released, and then actually go through our release process as well of getting that out to our end users. By the time you hit your first month, you'll have made more changes to the app, you'll have reviewed PRs, and you'll have gotten to know the app and Salesforce in much more detail. So again, this is just building yourself up as an engineer, building yourself up as someone working in Salesforce DevOps as well. And then in your first 3 months, you begin working on much larger tasks, so specifically related to your team, the roadmap, and you'll generally hopefully feel much more confident in taking ownership of more and more work. And again, throughout this whole process, you'll have support from your team, from your mentor, and from everyone and anyone in the company. But we'll be encouraging a little bit of independence, and you can kind of break away and do your own task in your own time and really build yourself up as an engineer. But yeah, I think hopefully that's enough to kind of give you an overview of what it's like to be a graduate engineer at Gearset. If you've got any questions, you can drop them in the Q&A, I believe, and I'll try and do my best to answer them. But I think next, I'm going to hand over to Nicola. Thanks very much for listening, everyone.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, I'm Nicola. I'm an account marketer here at Gearset. Started in August last year, and in the past 9 months, it's really clear that marketing makes a big difference at Gearset, and we're appreciated by the whole company, which can be kind of unusual in some companies. But here there's just so much potential that we can do and try. We set ourselves ambitious targets, but we also have a habit of smashing them. We did this with the State of Salesforce DevOps survey. It was the second time we ran it this year, and we decided to set ourselves the lofty target of doubling the number of respondents, and we did it. So that's obviously down to the talent we've got in the team. We've got 18 people now, split over brand, events, content, Salesforce, ABM, product, digital, and advocacy. And each time we add a new person or a new speciality, we just keep doing more and more cool stuff. And we are growing quickly, but it's a top priority for us to maintain the successful team characteristics that we've got today. Some of those characteristics I'm going to chat about. So one of them is the freedom to voice and try new things, which is actually really encouraged. We've got a culture of trust, which plays a big part in this, because you feel confident trying new things, as everyone else is going to be trusting that you're trying your best. Last year, our events manager, Ellis, decided she wanted to host a Salesforce DevOps community conference, the first one ever. So it was a pretty bold idea, but she put a plan together, got people involved, and she executed it. So in March of this year, we had our first ever DevOps streaming conference in Chicago, and it went so well that we've decided we're going to be replicating it. But even if it hadn't have gone as well, Ellis would have just been encouraged to take learnings from it and try something else. One of the other characteristics is everything customer facing is shared and reviewed by at least one other person in the marketing team. So we share it on our marketing Slack channel, so anybody in marketing can review it, which is a little bit daunting. I was a bit nervous to share my first piece of content, but now I love it. Everybody's so talented that every suggestion that's made makes a difference. And even if you don't agree with the suggestion, it just starts a conversation. So with all that said, it's more than just the work that we do. We spend a lot of time at work. And so for me, it's important to be part of a team of lovely, supportive and funny people. And that's exactly what I've got here at Gearset. We have plenty of office tea breaks. We even have a virtual tea break on a Friday. We do team brunches and off-site days. So there's loads going on. And there's also many a Slack thread that you wouldn't want to miss. Always something completely random, but very funny. So I love it here and it's a great place to work. So I think we're now on to Luke with customer success.
Thanks very much, Nicola. Talking of lovely and funny teams, that brings us on to talking about customer success. So if you think about all the teams that are being talked about today, customer success could possibly be the one that is least familiar to most of you. So let me just break it down to what we're focusing on here from a customer success perspective at Gearset. And really, it's a simple kind of reason to turn up to work every day. We're focused on helping our customers get the most out of working with Gearset. And if we then look at what does customer success mean here at Gearset and the team that we've got, really we're a multidisciplinary team split into 3 focus areas. And we're keenly aware of the challenges that our customers face, the objectives that they're trying to deliver, and working in such an enthusiastic and fantastic team that we have here means that every day we're able to work better with our customers to help them deliver more value into their organizations with using Gearset. And so the teams that we have here are split across customer support, customer enablement, and customer success management, meaning that at every stage of the customer lifecycle, we've got capabilities, subject matter experts, technical experts, and commercial support to help them to continue to be successful. If we then think a little bit about the fact that customer success may be new to many of you, I suppose a question we want to answer is, why would you work in customer success? Truly, as Jason talked about at the top of the presentation today, we're working with some of the most innovative customers in the world. And this is not just platitudes that we're talking about. When customers have chosen to invest in forward-thinking technology like Salesforce and have then chosen to invest in a tool like ours at Gearset, they really are looking to break new ground and do new things in a way that often hasn't been done before. And that's a really exciting environment to work in. And being in the customer success teams mean you're an extension of working with those. We've got a really strong track record of industry-leading performance, whether you look at performance metrics around how we're able to respond to customers, the time, the customer satisfaction rates we're able to deliver, or whether you're talking about the speed at which the engineering team are able to ship solutions that mean our customers can be consistently successful. In customer success, if you like variety, if you like turning up to work and every day being different, it's definitely something for you. No day is the same. And the team that you're working with, Nicola summed it up so well when talked about like coming and being encouraged and being supported by those around you. And this goes for all of Gearset, but specifically in the customer success background, because we're a multidisciplinary team, we have a really diverse background. We've got 8 nations represented in our group. We've also got people who in previous lives were archaeologists, award-winning folk musicians, radio presenters, amateur sports stars. So it really is a place where people from very different backgrounds can come and find a home. And actually there's a blend of commercial and technical roles that mean you can support customers in a different way. And I suppose the best way for me to wrap up a segment talking about how we make our customers successful is to just hear something that one of our customers at McKesson, the healthcare provider that Jason talked about, where they're saying that Gearset is an essential tool with incomparable customer support. And I couldn't say it better than that. And without further ado, I'll hand over to Joe to dazzle you with all things sales.
Thank you, Luke. So hello, I'm Joe. I'm one of the mid-market account execs at Gearset. What that means is I sell to businesses of between 500 and 10,000 employees. So quite a nice wide range and a nice variety of deal sizes, company sizes and use cases. And I'm here going to chat about what sales is like at Gearset. So if you've listened to this whole Gearset presentation and the rest of the team talk about their departments, you'll have heard what the culture is like in other areas of Gearset. Quite commonly, these cultures don't quite stretch to sales because of kind of the nature of the role. So you may think that we operate quite differently, which I'm going to get onto. So now a very, very brief background, but I've been fortunate enough to work in a few different fantastic sales orgs within the Cambridge tech ecosystem. However, I think it's fairly common knowledge that a lot of sales teams can get a lot of things wrong when it comes to both the day-to-day job and also the culture of the team. Admittedly, some people thrive in different environments, but I'm going to tell you what it's like kind of at Gearset. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to start with what sales is not like at Gearset, because for me, it's these things that would put me off any available opportunity, more so than anything that a role actually would put me onto it. So firstly, Gearset doesn't have irrelevant KPIs and expect you to be cold calling all day, or even at all if that's not the way you work. I've been here for around 2 years now, and I haven't done an out-and-out cold call once, and I've still been able to perform well and overperform against targets. Gearset has a fairly thorough hiring process. That's not to put you off. We tend to ensure that we get the right people with the right fit for the right role. And what this has meant that within the sales org, we don't really have what sales teams like to call A players and B players. That is, we don't have out and out rock star salespeople who massively outperform others. We of course have scope for individual performance and plentiful opportunities to have your own style, work hard, blow targets away, but we don't really have the flip side of people struggling. I think the average attainment across the last 10 quarters across all the sales teams, so every sales individual, is 103%. And this will come with a fairly small standard deviation, as not heavily skewed by a few individuals hitting a few 100% targets and everybody else kind of at the bottom with scraps. Now, again, that leads me further on to what sales at Gearset is like. Essentially building on the awesome work that the marketing team do and the fantastic product that Gearset is and engineering continue to increase the efficacy of. People typically come to us and they want to use and buy Gearset. And in their sales role, this can completely change the conversation and ultimately the role that we have. We're less so selling someone on the idea that they need Gearset. We're more educating them on the best way to use it. This inbound model that we have accounts for the vast majority of opportunities you'll run, whilst also having the ability to account manage key accounts that you see growth in, referrals. There's lots of different avenues to kind of build a pipeline and work with different opportunities, but fundamentally there's so much volume of inbound that would fulfill the majority of your day-to-day. Gearset has been around for a few years now, and the key theme throughout the organization, and particularly the CS team, as Luke mentioned, is to communicate well with customers. And I guess by well, it basically just means to be nice and to be helpful. There's no need to necessarily overcomplicate it. Whilst this may take a while to grow, at this point, it ultimately leads to a reputation within the market of being a company people like to do business with. Again, it makes the role of sales that much easier, as people typically don't have that preconceived notion that sales folks are just in the way. It's also worth mentioning that we sell into the Salesforce ecosystem, and by the very nature of this ecosystem, people are generally well clued up on the sales process. So whilst we are selling to technical people, to developers, to admins, they appreciate the requirements of a sales process, and they're typically willing to collaborate with you. Again, can be quite refreshing versus other markets you may have worked in sales in before. As Gearset is such a fast-moving company, there's lots of scope to do things outside of the job description, should you want to do so. I'll regularly get involved in webinars such as these, product feedback sessions, mentoring, interviewing, training, as well as just generally working in the same building as all the other departments and regularly chatting via Slack or in-person meetings during a coffee break. Sales, as with any other department, isn't just siloed off to one side. We really integrate well with the whole business, and everyone understands the importance of every department and every team. The final thing to mention, and the thing that I guess is most important to me when looking for a job role, is the autonomy. So from day one, I've been able to own my own time, my own opportunities, and be trusted to just get the job done. I have support as and when I need it, but I've never had management breathing down my neck, asking where I'm at with a particular opportunity. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes my CRM admin could be a little better, but it's never been a case of me having to justify what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, or even when. Admittedly, it's easy to say that whilst you're hitting targets, but assuming you've got essentially the intelligence, organization, and self-motivation, you're definitely given the product and the resources to succeed, which comes with it the trust to be completely autonomous and just to do your best work. I think that's me kind of giving the pitch on the sales team. I believe, Ian, you're next.
I am indeed. Thank you very much, Joe. So we're going to be talking about, everyone's given a really good overview there of the different kind of what it's like working in the different teams across Gearset. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of some of the roles that we're hiring for at the minute, giving you a short summary of what we're hiring for and why you should consider applying. So starting with our engineering team, there are a number of roles in engineering, but I want to focus in on our software engineering opportunities. So software engineers at Gearset, if you join, you'll join a real passionate and experienced cross-functional development team. They've got a really laser focus on quality, whether it's from the infrastructures to the code or the user experience. And like it's been said already, that the features that you build as an engineer here will make thousands of businesses around the world more effective. And we're fairly agnostic about the tech stack that you come from. So we believe that really that great engineers, they're not limited by their coding language, and they can understand problems, translate requirements, and then deliver in a language that we'll support you with. Moving across into our sales, Joe gave a really good overview there of the various roles of what it's like working in sales here. We're currently hiring for sales engineers. Now, this is a pretty new role here at Gearset, and it's a real opportunity to shape what we do, because you'd be joining a small team full of smart people right at the beginning of how we do things. Generally, our sales engineers are people who are super curious, and they're able to get under the hood of customers' problems and demo them a solution that they need. And our sales engineers are an essential part of the sales team, so they have a real influence on bringing in some of our most prestigious deals. Kind of onto the actual sales account executive roles here. There's two I want to highlight. One is our mid-market role. Now, don't let the job title confuse you, because our mid-market sales team work with companies with as few as 500 employees, all the way up to large global companies with up to 10,000 employees. But with Gearset being a technical product, so our sales require you to have a technical mindset with that ability to take that complex information and distill it into terms that your audience can understand. As Joe said, this role is pretty much 100% qualified inbound leads. So the on-target earnings we advertise are very much achievable. We really encourage and celebrate when people hit target. Moving on to our enterprise account executive role. Now, enterprise sales is really at the leading edge of where Gearset are heading as a company. So someone joining this team will be in a really great place to have an influence on how we grow as a company. Our enterprise sales account executives are well supported with all the resources they need to be able to make the sales that we need to grow the company, and in turn hit their own commission targets. Moving into customer success. So Luke gave a great overview of what customer success is. And I suppose what we're looking for here is experienced customer success and account managers to join us. Gearset is a company where customer success is a core part of our DNA. Everyone from the CEO downwards are really involved with customers. And so to join us, you'll get to work as a trusted advisor to some of the largest, most recognized brands out there, helping to get long-term success with Gearset. We're hiring for small business customer success managers. So if you've listened to this and thinking, I'd love to maybe get into that type of role. I've not come from a tech background. This is a great entry point for people that maybe have an account management background. They want to get into software as a service or tech sales. And then we have a role for more experienced customer success managers in our mid-market team. Again, generally people have got 3 or so years experience of being a customer success manager. This role can be either remote or in the office. If it's remote, it'd be 3 days a week in the office, 3 days a month in the office, generally in a block, because we really value that time in person to help build the team. And another role we're hiring in that team is our customer support engineers. Now, these are the guys who speak to our customers all the time. They knock it out of the park every single week. We've had over a year's worth of customer satisfaction scores at over 95%. These are an amazing team at Gearset. And what we do is they sit on Intercom, our live chat, they sit on email, and they have that reactive support to our customers all around the world. It's a really consultative team. You need people who have a deep understanding of our users and the challenges that they have. But our approach to support is friendly, personal, and fun. If you've got a technical background, love chatting to customers, that's a great role for you. As Nicola said, in marketing, we've got account-based marketing role. Now, this is a super interesting role. Accounts-based marketing, or ABM, is quite a new concept in marketing in general, but it's got massive potential and will provide really good development opportunities for someone that wants to work in a tech company like Gearset. This role sits within the ABM team, and you use your experience to create personalized multi-touch campaigns to help grow our footprint within our target account list of customers. It's a really collaborative role. You work closely with the sales team and then with the wider marketing team. But great marketing really relies on great copywriting in some ways. So we were hiring for a copywriter. It's a fantastic role for someone who's got a passion about writing, enjoys becoming an expert and communicating complicated ideas in a really clear way. As a copywriter, you'll produce thought-provoking, inspiring articles, ensuring that visitors find our website and then leave it smarter than when they arrived. There's real scope for this person to be involved in writing all kinds of copy, from blog posts all the way up to white papers. Again, like a lot of roles at Gearset, it's highly collaborative, where you'll be working closely with the marketing team, but also with sales and product teams too. Moving on to my final role, I want to tell you about is our product manager. So our product managers partner with our engineering leads and our UX specialists. They research, understand, solve our users' problems, and they work closely with the engineering teams themselves to bring their visions of our our solutions to life. We've got a really clear product strategy and some really great plans ahead of us. So if you come in as a product manager, you'll help us to shape and deliver what we do. And the solutions that you build will revolutionize deployment processes for thousands of businesses around the world. So that's a little bit about our roles. There's more on our website, but I just want to quickly just lean into our application journey and what you can expect if you apply for a role here. So first of all, when you apply for a role here at Gearset, your application is reviewed by a human. Sometimes you see kind of posts on LinkedIn that, got rejected by the computer. Everyone that applies here is reviewed by a human and replied to by a human. If you pass your application stage, we'll invite you to a telescreen, which is a video call with the hiring manager, the person that you'd be working for. After that, we then invite you into our technical stage. Now, this could be a little different for different roles. For some roles, there's an assessment stage first, a real life assessment to see how you kind of maybe communicate or can understand information. And then we'd invite you to our interview stage. Now, when we say technical, it's technical based for the role that you're applying for. If you're a marketer, you don't have to learn code. It's about your technical skills for the role that you're applying for to help us understand, can you do that job? And then we invite you to our final interview stage, which is our values-based interview, which is probably the most important stage, our interview process here. We want to make sure that you're going to be a great person to come and join Gearset, but also we want you to meet people from outside your team to have that opportunity to see, is this the kind of company I want to work for as well? I think that's really important for candidates coming into a process. So we maybe our process is a little bit longer than some companies, but we don't apologize for that. We think that actually we want to make sure that great people come in and do great work. And so that process means that if you're successful, you get a lot of trust from day one and can go on and do what you're employed to do. Just finally rounded up, just to say that if you want to contact us, our careers page is there, gearset.com/careers. You can email a couple of ways into the company. And just a final thing to say, that if you're kind of curious about any questions off the back of this call, you want to contact us, go onto our careers page, click on the bottom left corner, you can go on the intercom chat and speak to someone who currently works at Gearset. Ask them, is it really, what is it like to work at that company? If I apply for this role, what are you looking for? You can speak to someone, find out, and hopefully really help you with your applications. Thank you very much.